Sure, the sex. So there's a whole lot of intersex talk coming up lately. Ian Copeland thing was interesting. If you're on Substack, check it out. Really, I never ever thought that I would live to see the sort of. It's almost like the good old days of the late '90s, early 2000s when evolution versus creation debates were all the rage in MSN chat rooms and stuff, and that sort of, I guess, did evolve into the sort of atheist and skeptic communities, and that led to Gamergate, and that led to all the shit that we got down the road. So it all sort of ties back. I never thought that the lefties that would be arguing, against the creationists would now be arguing equally unscientific views on what sex is. So biological sex, like we're trying to draw a line with nature and nurture and whatever the thing is that gender identity is supposed to be. So you'd have nurture being the social roles, social gender roles, and of course nature being nature. So what is going on there? And many others have explained this really well. On YouTube, the Paradox Institute's got a whole series of videos on all the different disorders of sexual development and such, or at least many of them. It occurred to me today, talking to a friend, that I don't know how many of you are familiar with the diphallic guy, the double dick dude. He did Ask Me Anything on Reddit a while back. There are also women who are born with two vaginas. I would venture a guess that those count as disorders of sexual development, even though you would never call a guy with two dicks intersex. It'd be like twice a man, other guys. Well, anyhow, so yeah, I would think that having multiples of the same sex organ would still, it puts you at risk for infant reassignment surgery or gender confirming surgery at most of the hospitals in the United States, at least. Considering that, again, only two of them, one in Chicago and one of them in Boston, have declared they will no longer perform these sorts of roll of the dice surgeries on intersex kids, infants. But so the thing that we're up against, intersex people are now getting told literally. If I had done the interview with Buck a little bit later, I could have mentioned this too. But I literally got told the other day that that I'm in denial about what I really am. The Kleinfelter's guy was having XXY. I'm not really a man. So now trans women are women, but XXY guys, we are not men or women. We are the third sex, apparently, which is, interesting to be told that by people who think it's like literally genocide if you misgender them. So, yeah, I don't know. Riddle me that. It's just more of the whole narcissism thing, I think, coming around. And the fact that, like any narcissist, like allyship is not on the agenda for these trans rights advocates. Allies are just, it is absolutely, they are people that you use in order to get what you want. That's it, and they exist to serve you. Allyship is not a two-way street. So that's why a lot of the rest of the LGB, and I feel bad. Because people will be like QTI, hey man, like we're not responsible. Intersex people have nothing to do with this shit. I appreciate the push to be non-marginalized, certainly, but it's not as though we're getting any less marginalized, by trans people going around telling everybody that we're not actually men and women anymore. And anybody who doubts this, look up the animals. XXY is not like exclusive to humans. There's XXY cats and dogs and horses and pigs, and in theory, any sperm and egg is a disorder that can happen either way. It's either that that the sperm had an extra X chromosome or that the egg did. So with 2 vectors of transmission, and a bunch of different places that the division can go wrong. Not that many, but there's a lot of, that's why it's the most common intersex condition among humans. It's probably the most common intersex condition among all animals, for the same reasons. And, it's these sorts of, generalizable things that it's just so amazing. Like, people don't, there was just this conversation I was having over on r/skeptic where it was like, when you deal with a person, of course, you're not looking at their genitals, so you can't make that call as to whether or not they're a man or woman based on that. So you must be getting your information from somewhere else. It's like, well, okay, yeah, sure. I'm getting it from the way that they present themselves, but that's what passing is. And we all know that passing is a thing. Otherwise, trans people couldn't exist at all, or the whole thing would be pointless. So, like, yeah, passing's a thing. That doesn't mean that, just because a trans person passes doesn't mean that I'm interacting with their genitals either. I don't see what that has to do really with anything. I'm getting my information from the person and what they understand themselves to be and what they choose to convey. If they choose to convey in a way that is, confusing to my natural perception of male and female, that's a separate issue, but that's not normally what's going on. And so with, kittens or whatever, if I go over and my friend's got a cat, oh, well, you just got this cat. Oh, yeah, a little cute little kitten. Oh, yeah, it's a boy or a girl. And I'm going to take their word for it. They probably are taking some, vet's word for it, unless maybe they know enough to figure it out themselves. They didn't learn it from the cat, obviously. The cat didn't say anything, and I can't see what's going on back there with the cat. They're real fluffy. So I'm just going to assume, hey, girl, you're a nice boy, whatever it is. And so the fact that information is like, has a chain of a history behind it, it doesn't mean that I'm actually interacting with the cat's gender presentation or anything. I'm interacting with the cat, and what I understand about the cat is, not necessarily, exhausted by things that the cat has said or that somebody has, or that I've observed directly about the cat. I assume the cat has 2 kidneys. I haven't seen them, but, just safe guess. And they might not. That's the thing. This is how life works. There are mistakes or errors or, whatever, defects. It happens, and I'm not, in a very real sense, since Klinefelter's leaves most, and all intersex conditions tend to leave you infertile. That's the number one probably commonality of them all. Whether it's happening at the genetic level like XXY, or whether it's XY but you've got androgen insensitivity, so it's a hormonal issue more, or endocrinological. But whatever the case may be, we tend to not be fertile, and that would be, I think, a genetic defect, right? It's because life that can't reproduce is not going to get real far. So, that's defective life. I don't think that it's something you should go around calling intersex people genetic defects or whatever, but I also don't think that it's inherently, othering or handicapped language or whatever. It's like, we know it, that no point in hiding that reality. And some of us can have kids, and some of us can adopt and be perfectly fine parents. It's not like, the entirety of our capacity to have a legacy of, virtues or something can't be passed along. But yeah, chances are we are each of us the end of our family tree at that particular point. Which, also carries some kind of fun aspects, I think, honestly. I was just watching a little YouTube thing about Awful's affluent female working liberals or something. I don't know. Whatever it is. But it's like women who are like in their 30s and they're not married and they don't have any kids, and they're like, hey, it's so awesome. I got to go to Beyonce last night and then stay up and drink and wake up at 10:15 or whatever, just lay in bed and scroll through shit. What am I going to do today? I might learn how to make shakshuka. You'll know what I'm talking about if you've seen this. And it's like, yeah, you know what? That's, that might be considered, oh, wow, you're not doing your part to, like, propagate humanity or whatever. And maybe she's not. But maybe she's infertile and it doesn't make a fucking difference anyway. She's not going to be able to have any kids. Or she would like to maybe have a relationship. Okay, cool. But, fuck, it's her life, man. If she wants to be a single lady going to Beyonce, that makes all the sense in the world. And, whatever. I get, I feel the same way. Like, all of the guilt that I might have had about, like, not having grandkids from my mom, it's like, well, shit, that was really never on the table anyway. So, like, cool. Like, I don't have to worry about that. And it's, whatever. In the abstract, I can worry about who's going to take care of me when I'm old, or that I'm not going to have, these wonderful cheekbones won't be passed along. But I mean, what the fuck ever, man. There's billions and billions and billions of people. Like, I'm not too worried about that. The genes are out there anyway. And I got relatives. It's not like I don't. But yeah, so sex. It is indeed whether or not you fit the small gamete or large gamete / home-based gamete production style. There are no human beings who have been found to be able to produce both, or who have two primary systems where they're equally developed. There's always a primary and a secondary. There are issues, I would say, like with XY, with androgen insensitivity, so they look like a woman. I think this is what, if Jamie Lee Curtis really is intersex, this is what she probably would have. She would be XY, but have androgen insensitivity, so she'd have internal testes, where her ovaries might be. She wouldn't really have uterus and the reproductive organs of a woman, but she would have the external, the vagina, whatever, that's there. Clitoris stays where it is, urethra, it's all goes along the not male plan. And then to be female, there's like the additional internal reproductive as opposed to genital organs. So with that, do you say like really biologically male? Probably actually, yeah. I mean, probably actually you would say biologically they're a man. However, that isn't the be-all, end-all of sexuality or sexual presentation, appearance, whatever. There's a lot of factors that can go in the upstream stuff. So, again, XXY versus XY with faulty androgen sensitivity and countless other, well, maybe not countless, but many other conditions. Or, you've got your downstream effects, which is the sexual dimorphism. So having breasts or, wide hips or soft skin or Adam's apple, whatever, or man hands. These are not essential to being a male or female. I mean, in our species, they go along with it, but we're the only species that's got boobs, right? So clearly they're not necessary in order to be female biologically. So, you really can't have anything but the two genders. They're male and female. The two sexes, male and female. There's not any not sperm and not egg, but reproductive thing, nevertheless, gamete that is produced by humans. There's no third gamete. There's no spectrum gamete. There's just the two. And they go together just so. It's like DNA. It's got the G, C, TA all the way up, and it's only those, that's it. And they just only match each other. There's no other way that they can go. I'd like to say, I think it makes the most sense. I don't know. I love a good handy analogy. For Americans, it should be pretty easy to understand this. Sex is like the Electoral College. There are all sorts of factors, all sorts of votes and different regions and gerrymandering and all of this that go into, that's the downstream, or the upstream, so stuff that can go into the decision. But no matter what, when all is said and done, the state's going to be a red state or a blue state. There's no real purple states. That's not a thing, really. We can kind of talk about it, but the purple state is like intersex. Like, there are not actually purple states. It always has to be a red or a blue. Otherwise, they're not voting, right? That's a two-party system. And that's exactly what sex is like. You're either a male or a female. There might be any number of messy things that went in. You might have dangling chads, or whatever from Bush v. Gore. That's kind of what they take care of in the infant surgeries, is dangling chads. And, when it's all is said and done, you either get a male or a female, a man or a woman, a boy or a girl. There's nothing else to be gotten. There's no other way that it can go. In theory, with the Electoral College, maybe a third-party candidate could someday take one, but come on, that's not going to happen anytime soon. And anyway, it's an analogy. It doesn't have to be perfect. But that's pretty goddamn close to perfect, because we even got dangling chads in there, and purple states, and the fact that they kind of exist, but they kind of don't. Intersex people are just very much like that. Like, I'm male. I am a man. It is definitely true. There's no reason that you wouldn't say that. Some people have said Kleinfelter's guys are actually masculinized women. So in a sense, from that standpoint, we're like what today's average transgender chick who wants to be non-binary or a guy. We're like, I am what they aspire to be, in a sense. A masculinized woman. From another standpoint, though, we are, feminized men. And so, in that sense, we are sort of like what the other transgender type of person wants to be, which is a man with breasts and white hips and soft skin. And we never get male pattern baldness because we've got 2 X chromosomes. Yeah. So, I don't know. There's that. I just wanted to sort of lay out some... I just wanted to get on record with the damn Electoral College analogy, because I think that's fire, man. That's the smoke show right there. No, it's really, to me, it makes a lot of sense, because we all know that that's how it is. We can have all sorts of arguments about who's going to take that state. It can go down to very fine-grained distinctions, and can we really even say that Bush won this? But in the end, you've got to say something, and that's how it is. It's really convenient, though, from nature's point of view. You only have these 2 ways things can be. That's really helpful if you're trying to propagate a species. Is you want to eliminate ambiguity, where it's like, well, you're 3/4 female and I'm 1/3 male. And I don't know. We're gonna have to get in, like, multiply each side by 3 or then 4, and then we got 12. And I don't even know. Can we just fucking get this over with and have a baby, please? Because, like, there's other predators trying to get us and stuff. I think that's kind of what nature was thinking here. Nature doesn't have as much time on its hands in a certain sense as our luxurious Western civilization, although, of course, evolution also has all the time in the world. So on that semi-deep note, I guess I'll wrap it up here. I hope everybody is doing well, and I'm just really thankful that to be where I am right now is really pretty cool. Realizing that I was watching something about Dave Chappelle and the whole punching down, and that, is black lower than trans? Who is more marginalized? There's not even a question when it comes to intersex people. There's it's not even close. We are so much more marginalized, so much more deprived of our basic human rights than trans people. So much more little understood, less vividly understood. Yeah, and so to be one of the only people who have an ethical or whatever, we have the leg to stand on to say fuck you to the transgender people. You're going to listen to us. We're the little guys, and you are the man. You're the establishment. You're the man. You're the they fab, and whatever you are, we are more of the oppressed than you are. So it's cool to be in that spot, man. I mean, in a sense, I feel I can say pretty much what's on my mind, and sure, you can still get canceled, but you know what? And you find out that they canceled an intersex guy, holy shit, man. So I successfully defended against one of these on Reddit the other week. Forever trying to get me banned for hate speech or whatever. It's like I said, I can have a problem with PETA and not hate vegans. I can have a problem with Black Lives Matter and not hate black people. I have a problem with, feminism that supports Amber Heard and not hate women. I can have a problem with patriarchy, for that matter, and not hate men, allegedly. I could have a problem with, the Ayatollah or Hamas and not hate Muslims, or have a problem with Israel and not hate Jews. Either I can do all of those things, but can I have a problem with WPATH and not hate trans people? Apparently not on Reddit, but I made that case and they reinstated me. So there you go. I think it's it's very tricky at the same time that, you don't want to treat, because it's not a religion, but at the same time, getting back to the whole evolution versus creation thing, it is definitely getting to where there are beliefs that you are supposed to have about intersex people if you are trans that have nothing to do directly with being trans, but it's all this sort of firewall built around the concept of gender identity, which is, neither nature nor nurture. It was come up with by John Money, and the test for it was John and Joan. It is so debunked, but it's at the center of everything. So they have just built up this artifice to try to protect themselves, protect that idea from outside criticism, and anticipate where that criticism might come from. So one way to do that was, let's get rid of the intersex objection, and just make it like, you didn't know intersex is the third sex. They all say that. Like, we really don't. Only those of us who have been trans say that. So anyhow, yeah, I'm not the world's most masculine man, but I know what I am. And I'm glad I'm a man. And XXY wise.